Okay, so let's talk about game mechanics. Like, what makes games fun? What makes games interesting? The people who played Domain before I started streaming, they said it took an hour to read the rules, and that's annoying. Like, you want games to be pretty easy to get into. If you require a video game that requires an hour of reading rules before you can play it, like that video game's probably not going to do well. Games like Final Fantasy 13. Which one's the MMO? 13 or 14? Do you guys know?
I think 14.
14. So 13 is the one that had like snow and lightning and things like that in it, right? That game, the tutorial for it was essentially 20 hours long, and the game design of Final Fantasy 13 was that we're going to explain the rules to you, and we're going to do so in the game itself. And so every dungeon is just like this long corridor, and you walk down the corridor, and there's a scripted fight, and then you walk down and scripted fight. It's like, now you can learn how to change outfits. You have to press the button, and you walk down. There's a boss fight. Okay, now we're going to explain boss fights to you. You go further. Now we're going to explain summons to you. And it's like 20 to 40 hours long to finish the tutorial. And so I quit the game before I even got to the open world. Right? So I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, but I was just done with it. Like, I am tired of, like, being in the tutorial. I want to skip it. You know? And with a board game where it takes an hour to learn the board game, like, that kills a lot of the fun, right? Like, you're trying to get your assignment done. You still don't even know the rules yet, right? You guys with me on this, Prado and
Yeah.
yeah, Pellegrino.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's a valid like criticism, right? And so with board games, oftentimes when you play board games, you have somebody that knows the game that can kind of explain it to everybody else. So like I'm Steph, you've played Munchkin before, right? Dolan? Vakalar, do you know if Dolan had played Munchkin before? I would be surprised if she hadn't, because
I don't think she played before.
no, okay, oh.
Uh,
I never heard of it till now.
Okay, so anyhow, so the Munchkin is a pretty big game, and so I wouldn't be surprised if somebody knew how to play it and could kind of run you through the rules real fast. And with Domain, you know, that definitely helps. So let's talk about game mechanics. So that's a definite criticism when rules take too long to learn. Okay, good. Now let's talk about the core game mechanic of Domain. With Domain, you get these border tiles, and you place them on the map, and you use them to define regions of the map that you own, right? So if I have, like, let's say this area here, like that, and where are the things, like, is that a castle or something? I can't really see it in the single. Okay. So, like, let's say I own this area, and I want to capture the zone corresponding to this town. If I place the card that, and it costs money to do so. If I place this card, it gives me 2 more border tiles. So I could do something like this, right? I could like put 2 border tiles out. Let's see, line those up. Nope, not you. Nope.
Yeah, that was another thing I hated.
Yeah, the physics sucked in it.
Yeah. So I could do that and put, you know, more lines down. Or if you do one of these pushes, what you can do is you can let's see if there's any other examples here. If you do a push, then what you can do is you can move 2 of the border tiles 1 square, right? So you can move a border tile 1 square and another border. Yeah, these things really need to be locked down, don't they? Like that, and then you get to fill in the gap. And so you can actually get kind of free border tiles, like, or if I play that card again and I move this guy 2 squares out like this, then I would get free border tiles like this. And so by doing pushes, you can oftentimes be very efficient.
Okay.
You can be very efficient with your acquisition of territory. And then, okay, what happens if you're up against somebody else's territory? If you do a push into them, you capture their territory. So let's say that Prado had this area over here, and I played one of these cards that allowed me to push. I could push this border tile twice this way and seize the diamond mine from him, right? And I would extend my borders like this. But you can only push into a territory if you have more military than they do. And so there are these knight tiles, which, where are they? Is that you?
They're in
Yeah.
the bag, yeah.
There it is, yeah.
Yeah, they're back.
Yeah, so if I have 1 knight and he has no knights, then I can push my boundary over his. If he's got 2 knights and I got 1 knight, I can't. But he could push into me. And so there's this constant tension between needing to have more military than your neighbors so you can seize their land. It costs money. Every time you play a card, it costs money. And so you can get income, but like also you can just sell cards. But if you sell a card, that's your turn, right? And so you're not doing anything on that turn. And so there's this tension between needing to place new border tiles on the map, pushing boundaries to seize strategic objectives. Like if I had something like that, I could maybe drop a couple border tiles like this, and you know, and then I would pull all these internal ones off. Damn it, these really need to be locked down.
Yeah.
Can I lock this? Lock it. There we go. All right. So now it won't move. Hey, look at that. All right, and then
that's how you lock it.
yeah. So a little bit of skill in tabletop simulator will help as well. Anyway, and so you could pull off the internal things, and then you've got a nice domain. And the game's about victory points and kind of seizing the center ground. The center area has better stuff in it, and yeah. Anyhow, so it's a really interesting, but it's an interesting game because the game mechanic has this really neat territory capture system in it. Right? It's not like a normal game where you roll dice and you have military guys killing each other off. Instead, it all comes down to how much money you have, and the money controls which options you have. And then you can drop new borders, push borders, build your military, and with the goal of like kind of trying to get as many victory points as income as possible in the game. And so that's what makes Domain different from other games. And this is my kind of thesis point: is anytime you make a game, you must have something that sets you apart from other people. And so what sets Domain apart from other people, and even if you don't like it, like that's fine. Like your criticisms are 100% valid. Well, what sets Domain apart from other games is this border mechanic here, where it's all about having boundaries and drawing new lines to capture land, and then pushing the boundaries out to get more land. And you know, if somebody were to push into me, they could feasibly isolate off, like they could isolate off this whole area, you know, and snap, you know, just cut my territory in half, you know, like there's a lot of very interesting moves you can do geometrically that are in Domain that are not in other dudes on the map genre games. A lot of games you put like soldiers on there, and the soldiers run over and capture things, and you put a ownership marker on them to indicate you own them. In Domain, there's literally a border, and there's this tension of borders and cutting things off and things like that. So, which I really like. So that's Domain. Okay. Let's go to another group. Anything else before we go on to another group? Anything else you guys want to say about Domain?
What would you rate the game?
Well, I know how to play Domain, so I'm coming at it from a different perspective. I've played Domain a number of times, so I like it a lot. I would give it probably like an 8 or 9 out of 10, probably. Like it, every time I played it, it's fun, even if I don't win. It's always a fun and interesting experience. What about you guys? Now you're gonna be pressured to say it's a good game.
I was gonna say I think
I
it's
still don't like it, to be honest.
I like it conceptually. I don't feel like I played it enough to like get an opinion on it like in gameplay, but conceptually I think it's pretty cool. So I think 7 out of 10.
Okay, that's a good save. Okay, let's go to another group. Stafford, what group were you in? Nope, Stafford's not here. All right. Any other group? Just I don't know. Say something on the chat channel, and I'll call on you if you're ready to go. You're in the evening group. All right. Who is? I think there's multiple evening groups.
I'm in afternoon. Some of us from the afternoon group are here.
Ramos? Okay, who's in your group? What game did you guys play?
We played Frostpunk board game.
What was it called?
Frostpunk.
Frostpunk. I've never heard of that. So, how does that work?
It was complicated. It actually took us maybe longer to learn the rules for it. I even had to look up a a video on YouTube to see some of the stuff, and that video wasn't all that worth it. It was over 5 hours long. I'm not that patient.
Yeah, that's probably a little bit too heavyweight for this assignment. I was kind of
Yeah.
looking for more medium weight games, something more complicated than Monopoly.
Yeah, well,
But-
I think we spent maybe a couple hours just trying to pick a game.
Yeah, my favorite game along those lines. It's called Mage Knight, and I'm almost intelligent enough to understand how Mage Knight works. I mean, I sat down and watched YouTube videos on it, and I think I got the basic rules down, but like the actual rules, no, I don't.
Well, it began as an actual video game that you can find on stream.
Okay.
I've seen people play it on YouTube.
Okay.
And one of the people in my group, Maine, he's actually played the video game version, but he had to stop because it started to get stressful. It's a surviving crafting.
Interesting. Interesting. So what genre of game is it? What is the core mechanic of Frostpunk that makes it interesting?
Well, it's like a post-apocalyptic setting where it's basically a big nuclear winter across the planet, and you're establishing a city around a large heater system.
Okay.
And you start out at the base of it, and then you slowly expand outward into the canyon or crater that it's built in.
Okay.
You're trying to find like wood and coal to keep that thing going.
Okay.
And like the more coal you add to it, the wider the warmth it gives off.
Okay.
And you can also send out expeditions outside to find other survivors and other resources and hunting parties and all that. I mainly got that from watching people play the video game version. Our actual gameplay was probably just over an hour, but we spent maybe 6 hours trying to find the game and reading the rules and watching what we could find on YouTube. But the YouTube video was made by the game developer, which is why I
Nice.
looked it up.
That is nice.
So,
I like it when they do that. A lot of times they don't. They're not even the best. Like usually, like somebody has to like explain what the explanation actually means. But
yeah.
that is nice.
was
Five
playing-
hours.
he was
5 hours
playing
of
with,
explanation is too much, though. Honestly.
Yeah. So I just like get to what seemed to be worth knowing. But he was also playing it with some other developers for the video game too, and they helped explain something.
Oh, cool.
So, but I actually thought it would be worth playing again because we just started to understand how it goes. It's like if you learn something like Risk for the first time.
Yeah, that's cool. Would you play it again? Did you like it?
Yeah, I did like it. Once you start to understand things, it makes it kind of worth. I would go back to it, but like the other group, I think if I actually played it in real life, I learned it a lot easier that way instead of learning hotkeys and scrolling with the mouse to add to that.
Yeah. Yeah, Mage Knight here is the most complicated board game I've ever played. And so it's got elements of deck builder in it. It's got, you roll dice, and these are what mana you have. And if you spend mana, then you kind of re-roll it, shake it, re-roll it. Oh, I burned that mana. If it turns into black, you can't use it again until it's nighttime. A lot of times, though, when you spend mana, you just get a mana of a different color. And so basically every turn you draw cards and you play them, and you can spend mana to get extra effects on them. So like you could do a move 4 instead of a move 2, and you like start on the board here, I think, and then so like if I wanted to move over here, I think forest is, how much movement is forest? It's like 2 movement per tile, but forests are like 3 or 4, something like that. So if I wanted to get to the gold mine here, it'd be like I think 5 movement that I'd have to play. So I could play that and that and I don't know. Anyway, so that's, I don't want to get into Mage Knight because we're talking about Frostpunk, but There's just a lot of stuff to it. Is I guess what I was trying to get at. And
Yeah,
it's still
there is. I mean, Frostpunk did have a dice you can roll. They even had a quarter you could flip
okay.
in the game, but we found it was easier to do that in real life because the mechanics for that coin flip wasn't really all that good.
Mm-hmm.
And there were cards too, like scenario cards and laws you could establish.
Nice.
And when it came to the laws, it was kind of interesting because if you some cases if you chose one law, you can't choose another one.
Hmm.
So like there was a law for child labor, and if you picked that, then you couldn't pick I forget what the other one was, but it was related to child labor in a way.
That's funny. So yeah, that sounds like fun. I'm actually kind of interested in checking it out now. Let's see, workshop Frostpunk, huh?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised because this is like I think up to 8 people, and then in the video game it's just you. And
oh, interesting.
In the video game, I've actually seen the people get exiled because that is a punishment option if you break laws.
Nice.
But even if you're the leader and you make too many bad decisions, you'll get exiled yourself, and
cool.
that's how you lose.
I'm in class right now, Dad.
Okay, cool. But if like your people died too, then you would lose that game. But the one thing I actually learned from that video was clearing new areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the video game version.
Yeah.
Because you would take a piece that represented a worker, 3 types of workers. You had engineers, workers, and who had children. And if you wanted to clear an area, you would put them in a certain spot on the board. And then you would pick area cards that are stacked side by side, Group A and Group B.
Mm-hmm.
And you would place them where you wanted them, depending on which group it was, on the board, and then flip them. And then it would say if there was any resources there or not, and how many. And if you wanted to clear resources, you would get a worker, place them on that card.
Mm-hmm.
And then every day or every major turn, you never went past the first day. That worker would collect 2 of whatever resources there, like coal or wood or whatnot.
See. Yeah. So there's a worker placement mechanic where you like put people on the map to do different things.
Yeah.
Ooh, what's that?
It's called Frostpunk.
That's Frostpunk. That's the video.
That's the video game. They played the board game version of it. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, the board game came out later.
Okay. All right. Cool. Any other groups here? Thanks, sir. How would you rate Frostpunk the board game overall?
Well, learning it was probably the worst part, actually.
Sure,
And it
yeah.
was a bit complicated to load too. So there's a lot of stuff there. But I would give it like maybe a 7 or an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
And like I said, I would go back to play it now that I understand it.
Now that you understand, yeah, it seems like the maybe the domain people would say the same thing.
Yeah. When it comes, but with the board game, you need multiple people because that would make it interesting. You can't really play it by yourself.
8.0, not bad. Not a bad rating. Up to 4 people. Interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely looks cool. All right, next group. Let's talk about your game, and then we'll move on to learning Unreal Engine. Happy New Year. Okay. Anyone else? Any other groups? Do we cover everybody? Domain, Munchkin, Frostpunk. Anyone else? Fan-made remake of Animal Crossing. Okay, all right. So, Stafford, do you not have a microphone? You can just chat it if you want.
How do you get to like the monster fight, the big monster fight?
I can't right now, girl. I'm in class. What are we covering in Unreal Engine? We're going to go over the basics of Unreal Engine today.
Where can you put up it?
Bad internet due to a storm. Yeah, okay. All right. All right. Anyone else in your group, Stafford? Mobile tethering. Yeah, that'll do. Anyone else in your group that's here right now?
I can talk about it, I think.
Okay, go for it.
It wasn't a complicated game, but we had a lot of problems with other games we tried because none of us have a great setup overall. So one of the big issues was an internet connection.
Mm-hmm.
So everything was lagging around, so we didn't really get a full experience. We played for like an hour and a half, but
Yeah. What game?
a lot. The Animal Crossing board game.
Alright.
And I looked it up. It's a tabletop simulator board game. It's not a real board
It's not a real board game.
But there's like 5 cards that are like objective cards, so it changes the goal of the game.
Okay.
So there's one where you have to get these things. Like there's a rating for your town called appraisal. You could buy items that raise your appraisal. And one of the objectives is to get 10, which is the highest level appraisal.
Okay.
And then and all the objectives are like you multiply them by the number of players, so it scales based on your party size.
Okay. All right. Is it cooperative or competitive?
Entirely cooperative. There's no way to win unless you all win.
Okay.
It's but everybody picks a character, like a player. I don't know how to say it, like a character. Each one has their own buffs. Like it's like a tile system. Like it's A to F, 1 to 7 kind of deal, and you use movement points to move between them. And there's villagers that you talk to and do requests for. Certain objective cards require you to do a certain number of requests. You can shake trees, break rocks, and catch bugs and go fishing in order to get bells. You use the bells to buy stuff to give to villagers to complete requests, or to buy items to raise the village's appraisal level.
Mm-hmm.
And each objective card has a certain way to start the game, which is certain places that your starting position, the store, and the village resource center, something like that, where you drop off the items that you buy in order to raise your level.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to move between all the squares, you have every turn you roll 2 dice. One is your action points and one is your movement points. You can move the amount of movement points you have. You can move that many squares in your turn, and similarly, the amount of action points you have, that's how many actions you can do. Most things cost 1 action point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just moving around. There's also rivers and like cliffs and stuff that you have to use special items to get over.
Mm-hmm.
You can build bridges for a certain amount of bells, and then that just stays there in the game for the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can buy a ladder, and you use both an action point and a movement point in order to climb up a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can drop the ladder, and then it'll stay there, but you can't move it, and anyone can use it without using an extra action point.
Gotcha.
So you can just move between it.
Hey, Ada, you played a lot of Animal Crossing. Take a look at this. All right, go on. Sorry.
Oh.
And like there's different there's villagers. Each one you kind of just draw a number of cards at the start of the game to see which villagers you start playing with. Each villager has a certain square that they're designated to. So they usually are placed all around the map, so you have to kind of plan out where you're going and how.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little strategy involved in getting where you need to go, because you only have 10 turns in a single game.
I see.
So it's a limited time, and you have to complete the goal within that time. But if you cooperate, they're pretty manageable.
Okay. So how would you rate the game overall?
I thought it was fun. We didn't really get to play a full game because of internet problems. Everything was taking 4 minutes to move. So if we played it again, we would play it. Someone else would have to host it.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like
But
it sounds like none of the groups actually finished their board game. So I think what we're gonna do for the second week is to give the same assignment at the same board game again, and have all you guys actually try to finish the game.
Yeah, we saved our game
Okay.
state, so we definitely can go back to it right
Okay.
where we left off.
Yeah, I mean, it says it's supposed to only take 60 minutes to play, but you know how these things go, right? Like,
Yeah,
Mage Knight.
there's a
Mage
certain
Knight.
margin of error.
Playtime 60 minutes for Mage Knight is hilarious. Hilarious that it thinks you can play Mage Knight in 60 minutes. I mean, you could lose in 60 minutes, I guess. All right. So, yeah, sorry, what were you saying?
Nothing. It was just. That's really the whole game. Is you just move around and do quests,
stuff and
requests, whatever you want to call them.
and you buy furniture and stuff like that from Tom Nook to get.
And then it raises your island's appraisal level. There's 5. Oh, and like you get different types of different. You roll a die every time you fish in order to figure out if you catch a fish.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 2 different dice for rivers and the sea.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a higher chance to catch a fish when you're fishing in the sea, and lower chance in the river. So the sea is a little less accessible, but the river is. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you. Right.
You go out of your way to get a better reward. Also, the rocks can have gems in them, which go for a lot of bells. But you have to go up 2 cliffs in order to get to them.
I see that over there.
Except for one rock.
Right here. Yeah.
Yeah. But then that breaks for I think the game. I might have just read the rule wrong. Maybe just the turn.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. I think the selling point of it would be it ties in with a very popular video game franchise, right?
Absolutely.
It tries to kind of recreate the Animal Crossing experience somewhat faithfully.
Yeah, just kind of going around and doing stuff and having your little
better.
tasks, doing stuff for your villagers.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Being an upstanding member of society.
Yeah, I'm about as interested in playing this as I am in playing the video game, which is to say, not at all. But
yeah,
my wife and
That's fair.
my daughter played the hell out of Animal Crossing. My wife probably has more hours in Animal Crossing than I have in any video game. I like the notion of a fully cooperative game that's kind of friendly and not cutthroat. Because
it's absolutely like a family game.
yeah, like
Especially an Animal Crossing family.
like the trouble with family games, like one of the games where like you land on somebody and you send them back to start or something, right? Like Sorry or Parcheesi or Monopoly when you send them to jail. Like, is that your kids can get mad at you, right? Like, how dare you?
It's almost never personal, but it almost always feels personal.
Right. Shoots and ladders. If you land on somebody, they go back to start, right? And you don't have any control whatsoever in shoots and ladders. There is no choice. There's no volition. The game can just play itself.
It's barely a game.
Yeah. But even still, like, your kids get mad at you. Like, my daughter was like, "Oh, how dare you?" And I'm like, "It was just a random roll, dude. I didn't do anything." So I like the idea of a family game in which it's actually, people like having a positive experience with each other instead of just like, sorry, and sitting back.
It's crazy. Some people like having fun.
Right. Yeah.
It's so foreign.
Right. Okay. So. So the next homework assignment will be you guys finishing the games that you chose to play. I know there were other groups out there, and I haven't heard from them. I saw some were playing Parcheesi, which is a little bit on the simple side. I don't want you guys playing poker or any of that stuff. I would be interested in playing this game with you guys at some point. I played it with my class last semester. It was a lot of fun. I played diplomacy with a class last semester. I've got a big deadline on Thursday, so I'm not going to be free for that. But if any of you guys want to play a board game with me, I'll post something on the canvas. Founders of Gloomhaven, I'd also be interested in. That was a class project. So anyway, so coming up. So for the next week, the only thing you have to do is finish your board game, and then I'm going to have you just write a little bit of a game analysis essay on it. So like talk about what interesting game mechanics are there, right? Like what makes the game interesting? What sets it apart? What sells it? What makes you want to play it again? Like for Domain, like that border mechanic is really what sells Domain for me. For Frostpunk, maybe that notion of like building a city and living on the edge of survival, like maybe that's the selling point. Diplomacy, which is one of the simplest board games ever made, it's legitimately like simple. There's no dice. There's no randomness at all in the game. It's just a game for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people. It's a 7-person board game. No dice. Completely deterministic. But it's a hidden information game. It's a diplomatic game, and it's a hidden information game. And between those two things, it actually results in a really, really interesting, really neat game. This game was played by John F. Kennedy, Henry Kissinger. Like they loved, like the people in the State Department would play diplomacy to learn how to be a diplomat. Because the way the game works is there's a diplomacy phase. And so let's say you're playing Germany. You can walk over to Russia and be like, hey man, let's talk, let's be friends. And Russia's like, all right. And then Germany's like, hey, how about those Austria-Hungary guys? Those guys are assholes. Let's go kill them. And Russia's like, all right, sounds good to me. Don't curse. Don't curse. And so, and then you're like, but I need to worry about France because France is over on my other side. So you go talk to France, like, hey, France, are you going to attack me? France like, no, man, I'm going after England. Okay, cool. I'm not going to support you with England, but we'll just leave our border as it is. And if everybody keeps their word, then it becomes interesting. But if people lie, that's even more interesting because nothing you say in diplomacy is binding. Everything you say in diplomacy is just words. And so if you agree with Russia to jointly invade Austria-Hungary, the way the game works is very simple. Like let's say that Austria-Hungary has an army in Bohemia, or let's say it's in Silesia, so you just put it next to 2 people. Let's zoom in here. And what you do is you write down your orders. Berlin attacks Silesia. And then Russia could write down Warsaw supports Berlin attacking Silesia. The way the combat works is 2 armies beat 1 army. That's it. If it's 1 army versus 1 army, nothing happens. Okay, that's the rule. But what if Russia lied? What if Russia, instead of supporting Berlin's move into Silesia, what if Russia was like, I'm going to move into Prussia? Then these 2 guys bounce off each other, and then Russia's in here. And then Germany's like, what's up, dude? I thought you were going to help me. And Russia's like, yeah, I'm totally going to help you. And so then the next turn, Berlin, tries to move into Silesia. Silesia tries to move into Berlin. And then Russia gets to decide, he could be promising things to both people. He could support Austria-Hungary's move into Berlin. Or he could help Berlin move into Silesia, in which case it would push them out. And then on the next turn, Russia might move in there and take Berlin. It's just a very simple, very deterministic game. But what makes it fascinating is the diplomatic aspect of it. And if you lie all the time, nobody will believe you, and people will just attack you because I can't leave my border with you open because you're a wild man, right? And so if you lie all the time, people will just attack you and kill you. But if you save up that one time where that crucial lie, and then you move into Berlin and seize Berlin, it can swing the entire game. And so it's a fascinating board game, and it's very simple. You can learn the rules for it in like 5 minutes. I've mostly explained the rules already, and so that's what you guys are going to be talking about in your next homework summit. You're gonna play either the same game or I guess a different game, but I would recommend playing the game because you've already learned Domain. But if you hate it, then whatever. I'm not gonna play something else. It's fine too. But you're gonna write an essay about what you like about it, like a one sentence summary of like what the game is, and then you're gonna write like an essay, a little essay, not a big essay, on what makes it interesting, what the key mechanics are, what sells it to people. Okay? Is it a deck building game? Is it a dudes on a map game? Is it territory control? And what makes it special? because that's what you have to think about. Whenever you make a game, you have to think about what makes it special. Otherwise, people aren't going to play your game. If you're just making a clone of some other game, like that, just you know, you're not going to.
Make it interesting your own way.
Nobody's going to buy your game. Maybe if you're EA. EA does a lot of derivative games. And people will buy it because they're just like this giant studio and they can just throw lots of money at cloning a game. Right? Lots of people cloned PUBG, right? PUBG started the whole Battle Royale craze, and then Epic Games had a game called Fortnite. Fortnite was originally a base-building defense game against zombies. I don't know if you guys know that, but like Fortnite was originally 4 people cooperative, you build a base and zombies attack, and you fight waves of zombies. And then they're like, oh, that PUBG thing's pretty cool. And so they incorporated the Battle Royale aspect into Fortnite, and that became what is known as Fortnite now. It's the Battle Royale version of Fortnite. So what is a diplomatic game called? It's called Diplomacy. And it's one of the great all-time classic board games that can cost you friendships with people. So if somebody betrays you, like, they made the Battle Royale in like 6 months. Yeah, because they just layered it on top of the existing game. And that's why there's all the base building elements to it. Why you can build walls and staircases is because it was originally a base building game. Okay. Your group played Parcheesi, which is boring. Yeah, Parcheesi is too simple a game. It's too simple a game, and I told Rivera that when you guys were playing it. Okay. All right. So you guys understand? So that the reason why we're doing this is because I want you guys to get into that mindset of like looking at games critically. What really worked about this game? What didn't work about this game? How is it complicated? Is it simple? Is it cooperative? Is it competitive? What are the key defining mechanics and things like that? And some games have multiple key mechanics. Like Mage Knight has like every mechanic. It's got deck building and dice rolling and area capture and RPG elements. You level up. Like Mage Knight just threw like every game mechanic under the sun into one game, which is why it's so complicated. It's a good game, but man, it takes hours to learn.
I feel like I'm just fighting a bunch of songs and
Alright, I'm muting Stafford.
and I'm never fighting.
How long should the SCB? It'll be like a page. It's nothing. Like this is in our English class. Like I just want to see if you guys can develop that critical mindset of like being able to break down a game and think about what makes it fun. Because ludology is actually a real thing. As much as the name is hilarious, ludology. It's a real thing. Game science, like you can become a game science major at USC, I think. And it's a thing. And that's one of the 3 big pillars of this class is thinking about game design, thinking about funness, thinking about what makes a game fun, what makes it frustrating, why do people play a certain game over another game, right? Like why did people all start playing Fortnite? Think about it. Like, do you guys know the answer? Because it's popular, yeah, but why did it become popular? Once a game becomes popular, then it sort of feeds off its own success, right? Like, once a game's popular, then people play it so they can play with their friends. But why did it become popular? Why, PUBG was the #1 game for a long time. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. It's a battle royale game. Why did Fortnite eat PUBG's milkshake? Why did they drink their milkshake? Why did they steal their success? How? Because it's a clone, right? It's a clone of somebody else's great idea. Somebody had a great idea. They made a new genre. The battle royale genre didn't really exist. It existed in cinema, Hunger Games, Battle Royale, the actual movie Battle Royale, which was amazing. But why did Fortnite eat? Why did Fortnite eat PUBG's milkshake? How did they do that? They got a big straw. They leaned over and sucked the player base right out of their milkshake. How did they do that? Because it was free. Yeah, PUBG costs money, right? So that's I would say that was I'd say that would be a big big element, right? Survivor Pass breakthrough. Where'd it go? Why is this not appearing here? I've ignored it. I have not purchased it. That's why it's not appearing. Yeah, so it's $30, right? Fortnite's free. And then they do, I guess, survivor passes, whatever, on top of it. So, yeah, the Fortnite model was you get like a, you can buy optional add-ons that, but the core game is free, which definitely helps a lot. And PUBG is not cheap either.
Is PUBG a good game?
Is PUBG a good game? I don't know. I guess so. It was kind of buggy too, which I think was part of it. So PUBG had some pretty, famous bugs that,
Like, what,
you
what
can
were the
shoot people
bugs?
through. My daughter loves bugs, by the way, in video games. Like you can, the bullet mechanics were kind of wonky. Being on consoles helped. Fortnite appealed to more age groups. It's more colorful, right? Color. We'll talk about color this semester. Color is pretty important. You talk to your friends in a Discord channel on Fortnite. Yeah, easier to run. I think a big part of Fortnite was just the base building aspect of it. The fact you can tear down things and build things. Like people like to build stuff, right? If we go back to what the guy said in A Theory of Fun, is that things that would benefit you evolutionarily are considered fun. And so the ability to build yourself a base and build walls and build traps and build staircases and all this kind of stuff is fun, right? There's definitely a fun aspect to it. I think that was, one of the key things that Fortnite did that PUBG didn't have, and that in my I hate battle royale games. They don't interest me whatsoever. But in my opinion,
Except for the Battle Royale Bomberman.
Battle Royale Bomberman is 4 players, girl. It's not 100 people. But they do call it Battle Royale. I have played Battle Royale Age of Empires, but again, that's only 8 people, I think. What killed the game was the physics, yeah. Rocket League, yeah. Building gave players more freedom and added some strategy, yeah. And so it added, that's a big part of it too, is like adding strategy to a game, making people think and making people make decisions and things like that, I think adds a lot to the fun. And again, if you go back to what I've kind of ranted on before, I don't like games that are too simplified. I don't like the direction that Bethesda's been taking with dumbing down their games, game after game, dumbing it down. It just becomes less and less interesting to me. And so the building, I think, added complexity on top of what PUBG had, and I think that was a big part to it.
How much slime do I have to?
Okay, so that's that. So let's go ahead and fire up. COD got dulled me for a reason. Yeah. I mean, Call of Duty. I don't know. They're all very samey to me. Like it just seems like kind of like how they do Maddens every year, and the sports games are the same year after year without really any innovations. Team mode. Okay. I find that like all these Call of Duty franchises are all pretty samey, honestly. Battlefield 5 was an utter garbage game. I have over 1,000 hours in Fallout 4 and it's fun, but it's so dumb. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Like there's no like in the game there's one interesting decision, which is which of the 3 or 4 factions you're going to side with. That's it. Like none of your dialogue options matter at all in the rest of the game. It's not an RPG. I don't know what it is, but it's not an RPG. Like there's no decisions. Battlefront's free. Galactic Civs, that's a fun strategy game. Yeah, okay. Unreal Engine. So if everybody could please fire up Unreal Engine. I've talked to the library people. If you don't have your laptop yet, go talk to them, and they should have some laptop for you. They don't have the gaming class They actually bought laptops for this class. They actually purchased laptops that have discrete graphics cards in them that are for this class. They're not in yet, and so in the meantime, if you don't have a Windows PC, technically this will run on Mac, but you will need to get a Windows laptop at some point. Go talk to the librarians, and they'll loan you a laptop, and then you could take it back and get the gaming laptop whenever they come in. Interesting is more than a numbered list to me. Sorry, that sounded rude. No, it's completely right. Like Fallout 4 is just not a well-designed game, in my opinion. It's beautiful. It's got good graphics. Buggy, as all Bethesda games are.
Famous bugs?
The most famous bug in Fallout 4 was that there was a bug where the companions you have would fall through the floor. And so you'd be walking around and they would fall through the floor, and then you'd lose them, and they'd be stuck in a room underneath the ground. and there's nothing you can do about it. And so all you can do is fire them and get another companion, and then they would fall through the floor. And eventually I was running out of companions in the end because all of them were in this one room underneath the ground because they kept falling through the floor into this one room. And I was like running out of people that could accompany me on Fallout 4. That was a good bug. New Vegas, in my opinion, is the best in the series. Okay, so let's go ahead and launch. Go to Epic Games Launcher, Unreal Engine Library, and launch. And let's do this. Let's see what Unreal Engine looks like on the inside. And we're going to go through the basics of Unreal Engine today. Okay, so let's talk about game mechanic. I can watch the video from the lecture already from this. Okay, so when you fire up Unreal Engine, you get a screen like this. So go ahead and like throw up a thumbs up sign when you're looking at select or create new project here. Anyone launch Epic Games Launcher, Unreal Engine Library, and launch. And then once you get to this screen, just give me the thumbs up sign on. Shh, Ada.
Sorry.
Still loading. Taking a bit. All right, let me pause the recording then. All right, we're recording again. All right, so yeah, you might notice there is some time to load it up, and so we're going to create a new game here. And so you just click on Games, click on Next, and then as far as the template goes, this is actually worth a mention. When you guys make your own video game, you're going to need to think of what genre of game you're going to be in, and they give you starter code that kind of gives you a good skeleton to build from. And so you could just choose blank, which gives you nothing. Gives you nothing, and until you know Unreal Engine, you're probably not going to be able to do very much with blank. So what I would really recommend is a starter code. So first-person shooter is the one we're going to be doing. But if you just want to click and look at the icons, there's a flying game where you fly a spaceship around, puzzle game, Katamari kind of game, third-person runner. That's pretty common also. A lot of the tech demos you see on Unreal Engine on YouTube are done using the third-person template. Top-down is very similar to third-person, except the camera's above the dude. Twin-stick shooter is one of these games where one joystick is used for movement, the other is used for firing, so you can slide around and shoot things. Handheld AR I've never used. Side scroller, this is a lot of students have used this template for their stuff. And so 2D side scroller and side scroller, more or less the same thing. This has an orthogonal projection, if that makes any sense to you. But it's like a Mario Brothers type game where you run sideways and jump. Vehicle, and then there's advanced vehicle. I would do advanced vehicle. The normal vehicle one, the physics are kind of garbage. Advanced vehicle has more realistic physics for the car. The virtual reality I have not played with. I know Dolio has. These two things here, like the cart people, do a lot of. I don't have any VR equipment. I've never played with them here in Unreal Engine. I used to be a professional virtual reality game programmer, technically. I mean, actually, I was. I did it for 2 years. But not these days. Okay, so okay. Anyway, so let's pick first person, and
It's so hard to defeat.
hit next. And then the default settings are going to be pretty good for you. So for IS50A, we're going to be using blueprints. For 50B, we're going to be using C++. So 50A, though, is all blueprint based, and you're going to learn about blueprints in, probably the next class. But it's a way you can kind of drag and drop code around. It's kind of nice. It's really nice. Maximum quality, yeah. Ray tracing disabled, yeah. Desktop console, yeah. With starter content, yeah. So all the defaults are pretty good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this project. Now, how much space do I have on my C drive right now? I uninstalled Cyberpunk, so I probably got room. 123 gigs free. No. I'll just put this on the spinny disk. So let's go over to Hippodracus, go to UE4 projects, and I'm going to call this guy Spring 2021. So I'm making a folder called Spring 2021 right here. Okay. And then the name of the project, sorry, is going to be Spring 2021. And I'm going to hit create. So I created an Unreal Projects folder where I can put all my Unreal projects in an easily accessible place. And I'm creating a folder there called Spring 2021. Or a project there called Spring 2021. And then you'll see the thing vanish and a loading screen will appear. And this can take a while. You can hear my, oh, that was actually not bad. Good job, hard drive. So the hard drive has successfully created the new template. And there it is. So give me a thumbs up once you guys are looking at this bad boy right here. That was a massive drive. Yeah, I was tired of running out of hard drive space because when you teach game development, your hard drive space goes really, really fast. Like, it goes really, really fast. My 4 terabyte D drive is completely full, as you can see. I've got 3 gigs free out of 2 terabytes. Sorry, it's a 2 terabyte drive. It's got 3 gigs free out of 2 terabytes, and that's mostly Unreal Engine stuff. And so I upgraded to a oh, sorry, it's a 15 terabyte. My bad. It's a 15 terabyte drive. And so you can see this is all Unreal Engine stuff. It is enormously expensive in terms of hard drive space. So my poor 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, nah. I've been moving my Unreal stuff off of there. The engine itself I put on here because I want the program to load quickly, but the levels and things like that are all on Hippodracus now, the 15 terabyte drive. How much was the 15 terabyte drive? I don't know, a couple $100? Okay, so we got some thumbs up, cool. 15 terabytes should be enough. 15 terabytes is enough for anyone until you start installing all the Quixel Megascan stuff. New plugins are available. I don't care. Okay. So let's take a look. So here is Unreal Engine. Welcome to Unreal Engine, everyone. If this is your first time, it will be the beginning of a long and beautiful journey. Unreal Engine is actually pretty fun to make video games in. There are definitely some annoyances, and I will point those annoyances out to you. It's not really intended for beginners. Like, if you want to do beginner stuff, you can use Scratch, and if you really want to make like a beginner video game, there's like MIT's Scratch, which does these really cartoony kinds of things, and anyway, so Unreal Engine is actually a real product. Unreal Engine is actually for professionals. There you go. You got some Korean on the right hand side here. And so this is all block programming, and you just drag and drop things together. And it's very, it's for kids. It's for kids. So the Unreal Engine, though, is for professionals. And so I will give you the gentle introduction to Unreal Engine. Okay, so first things first. Here is the preview window. So you can actually drag and drop your world. You can actually build your world in a visual editor. And that's nice, because when I was doing game development, I would have to compile the engine and then run the game to see what the changes would look like. Then I would edit the map, relaunch, and look at it. And there's that downtime between compiling your thing and running the thing and having it load the assets and appear, and then you're like, oh, I was 1 centimeter off. Being able to actually see the world as you're developing it is a really nice feature that Unreal Engine has. Are you supposed to be following along on Unreal Engine? You are, but this is a recorded lecture. So if you can't launch it right now, get it worked out at home and then go through this at home. Okay. I'm just going to give you the 15-minute overview of Unreal Engine right now, and then we will continue this on Thursday. Okay. What template did I pick? I picked the first-person shooter template. So, okay, so basic interface. So here's the preview window. if you right click and drag on it, it will move the camera around. You can move the camera up, move the camera down, left and right. Okay. So if you mouse wheel in, mouse wheel out, that zooms the camera in and out. Okay. Left click is used for selecting things. So if you want to move something, like I've got that box there, I could left click on it. And I'll show you how to move things in just 1 second. But let me show you the way that I interact, the way that I move the camera around in the world. So I hold down right mouse click. You guys see this? I'm holding down right mouse click. And then I'm going to use WASD, the same keys that you use in first-person shooters to move forwards, backwards, left, and right. W moves forward. I'm holding down the right mouse, right? I'm holding down right mouse. And if I hit S, while I'm holding it down, I move backwards. I fly the camera around. So W is forward. W is forward. A is left. D is right. S is backwards. Okay? And so this is typically how I navigate around the world. If I want to fly up, E flies up, and Q flies down. Okay. And if you want to zoom the camera in and out, that's Z and C. That's the same thing as mouse wheel. If you want to change the speed of the camera, there is an option right, where'd it go? Right here. That is the camera speed, and you can up that if you want. For projects of this size, the default camera speed is usually acceptable. But if your world starts getting really big, then you probably want to up that speed so you can fly around faster. Where do you save recorded lectures? The recorded lectures go up on YouTube, and the links are posted onto Canvas modules. Every time I give a lecture, there is a URL posted saying like week 1, day 1 lecture, and you click on that and it takes you to the YouTube site. Or if I'm using an old Zoom lecture, it'll be to Zoom, and you can watch the lectures there. So make sure you watch the lectures from any class that you've missed, or if you can't do it right now. Okay. You can also scroll up while holding. Right click. I don't know what that means. E and Q though are the fly up and fly down. Okay. You can scroll up. Oh, I see. Does it? Oh yeah. To adjust the speed. Yeah. Cool. All right. Nice. Good shortcut. All right. So let's talk about moving things in the world. So in video games and in 3D graphics overall, there are three things you can do with objects in the world. There are three main things. There's some weird things that we don't talk about. There's 3 things you can do with objects in the world. Like we got this box here. Everybody please left click on that box and then fly over and take a look at it. That's a box. Look at that. It's a mighty fine box you got there. All right. So the 3 things we can do with objects in a 3D world. The 3 things that you can do with a box or any object in a 3D world. I'm going to write these on Discord. It's translation, scaling, and rotation. So translation is math, because math people like making everything more complicated than they should be. Translation means you're moving it. So if you want to move the box, what you do is you click on it. You can click on a box and you see those arrows appear. So what you can do is you can click and drag on those arrows. And those arrows are aligned to the X, Y, and Z axes. So green is the Y direction is pointed that way. Red is the X direction is pointed that way. And Z is up and down. So if you drag on the blue Z arrow, and you see even if I move my mouse left and right, it doesn't slide left and right. It only moves up and down. And this is actually really good, because if you free move a box like this, you see how it, sometimes it's closer to the screen and sometimes it's further away. It's actually really hard to move things in 3D. Let me put it on top of that box there. Okay, there we go. Oh wait, no, it's on top of the box. All right, let me free move it on top of the box now. There it is. Oh wait, no, it's on top of the box. Let me move it on top of the box now. Oh wait, no, it's on top of the box. You guys understand? And so if you Control Z, by the way, undoes I things. So if I wanted to move that on top of the box, what I'd do is I'd drag it in the X direction. I drag it in the X direction until it was overlapping the box, and then I'd drag it in the Z direction until it was above the box. And you see how it snaps? There's snap to grid turned on right now. Also, if you hit end, the end key will drop an object down until it touches the object below it. So right here, you see where it says enables or disables snap to grid? Right there. So you can turn off or turn on snap to grid. You can also choose how big it snaps. Like by default, I think it's every 10 centimeters. You'll see the box. You'll see the box kind of like hopping. See that? Every 10 centimeters. And the reason for that is it allows things to line up very nicely. If you turn that off, then if you turn it off, it'll move smoothly, right? But then you think you got it set, but then when you look at it, you know, you see how it's actually floating, and your players will notice that, and they'll make fun of you. You see how it's floating in midair? The camera speed's a little bit too high. You see how it's floating?
Yeah.
And so you can hit end, and end will end the end key, end key will drop the box down to the object below it. But I typically leave snap to grid on. Okay. Can you change the properties of the box, like making it into a crate? Yes, we'll get to that. So right now, though, let's just talk about movement. So if everybody could just click on something, like you can click on anything, like these walls. Like, I don't like that wall there. Let's move it this way. You know, you just move the walls around. Everything's clickable. Everything's draggable. You just move the walls up, you know, down, whatever. Okay. So just go ahead and just click on an object and then just move it around. Have fun with it. Okay. And then give me a thumbs up once you guys have kind of figured out how to move things. The square intersections here. Do you guys see how there's a... let's see if I can get... do you see how, like, at the intersection of the axes, you see there's a little right angle, there's a little square? Like, there's a little square looking thing right at the corner of the axes. If you want to move the object in 2 axes at once, which is way better than free move. Free move is by mousing over that dot in the middle. If you mouse over the dot in the middle, it'll free move, which is garbage. You almost never want to use that. But if you want to move it in like 2 axes at a time, let me go back to the box and undo all these things here. Okay. So if I want to go back to the box here, okay. And let's say I want to move it in both the X and the Z direction. I'm going to mouse over that square angle, the right angle right there, at the intersection of the X and the Z. And then it allows me to slide it along that plane. So I can move it left and right, I can move it up and down, but I can't move it that way at all because I'm constraining it to the X and Z plane. And so that would allow me to do that. Okay. So that's what those little angle things mean. If you want to move it, if you want to slide it horizontally, if you're going to slide it horizontally, then that intersection between X and Y will slide it. It allows you to slide it horizontally, and it won't come up or down at all. And that's really useful. If you want to slide things around the ground, that's what you use, right? So we got a box here, and I'm going to see I can slide it around, and it doesn't come up off the floor. Okay. Notice the shadow remained. We'll talk about that too. It'll only let you rotate the box. Okay, so what you have then is you hit E while you were not holding down right mouse click. So here is translation, here is rotate, and here is scale. So W, E, and R are the shortcuts. If you hit W or E or R without right mouse, see I'm not clicking on anything, it will select one of those tools. So you have to be careful that you're right clicking when you use WASD. Okay. Okay. So if you want to translate, you click on this button here, or W. Okay. So if you want to rotate something, you click here where it says rotate, or you hit E, and then you'll see that there are very similar axes, the colored things, that will allow you to rotate. Red again is the X-axis. So if you click and drag on that, you can rotate the box, and it's rotating around the X-axis. If you click and drag on green, it rotates around the Y-axis. And if you click and drag on blue, it rotates around the Z-axis. Remember, the Z-axis is pointing straight up, so rotating around the Z-axis spins it in place. Okay. So translation allows you to move it. Rotation allows you to rotate it. And then scaling, which is the third tool here, allows you to make the box bigger and smaller. Now, unlike translation, you almost always want to use the center box when scaling. Do you see how you can scale it, green is again the y-axis. You can scale it in the y-axis if you want. You can scale it in the z-axis. And we'll sometimes do that if you're like trying to make a wall or something like that. You start with a box and you can kind of make it narrow and make it taller and wider and stuff like that. There's actually better ways of doing this, but there you go. I got a wall. Okay. Usually though, when you're dealing with objects, though, you click on the center. So whereas with translation, you almost never click on the center, with scaling, you almost always click on the center, because what that does is it scales it proportionally. If you don't scale something proportionally, your objects look bad. Okay? And so by clicking and dragging on that center, do you guys see that there, the little center ball, little center square there? If you click and drag on that, that will make the box bigger or smaller. Okay? And so let me know if you guys are with me so far. I want you guys to all translate something, rotate it, and scale it. Okay? I'll pause the recording. Okay. So W is the shortcut for moving things. So you can move a box around. E is the shortcut for scaling it, or sorry, rotating it, and R is the shortcut for scaling it. And so between those three tools, you can basically do anything you need to do with objects in the world, as far as like their gross location in the world. And so you put a door in the world, you rotate it to match the doorway that it's in, you slide it in place, it's a little bit too small, you scale it up a little bit. That's how you put objects into the world. Now, what else can you do with it? Well, a student asked, can I turn it into a crate? And the answer is yeah. There's textures. So a texture in a video game is a picture that you apply to a surface. Okay? But there's something better than textures, which are called materials, which are, let's go over here, which I'll show you where those are right now. So do you guys see the bottom of your screen? The bottom of the screen is something called the content browser. And the content browser is where all of the files in your project are. So every time you make a new model or a new sound or music or texture or material, anything that you anything that you make either inside of Unreal Engine or outside of Unreal Engine goes into the content browser. And the most important thing with the content browser is to click on this little button right here. You guys see that tiny little button there that says show or hide the sources panel? That's I always turn that on. It's very, very important. Click on that, and then it will show you the folder tree hierarchy for your project. Okay, and I always have that turned on because I browse around in it all the time. So, Crany Cam is gone. Yeah, I'm just sharing my Unreal screen because I'm going to what am I going to do? I'm going to show you what's in the world. Okay. Have what on? This button right here. You see that? How it shows and hides the files and folders like that. So click on that button. I always have that showing. Okay. All right, I'll switch back to the screen. There you go. Okay, so let's make this box here cool. Let's make it interesting looking. All right. So no, not you. Starter content. Okay. So if you click on starter content and then you click on materials, there will be a list of the starter materials that come with Unreal Engine. None of them are especially exciting, but they're workable. They're not garbage, most of them. I mean, some of them kind of look like garbage, and will look like garbage if you put them on your things in the world, because they're more like for color testing and things like that. But basically, all you have to do is go on the left-hand side here, click on Content, Starter Content, Materials, or you can access it through the tree on the left-hand side, which is what I usually use. And then just browse around. It has a little preview of what the textures look like, what the materials look like, and then just go ahead and drag it out. Drag it onto the object, and you'll see the box turns into a little wooden box here. And another way you can do it is when the box is selected, You can, like, let's make it oak. This guy, let's make this guy oak. You click on him. You click on him, and then you drag it over to the material here. So those are two equivalent ways of doing it. The first is you just drag the thing on top of the object in the world. The second way is you select the object, and then you drag pine wood over it. And now we've got an oak box, a walnut box, a pine box. What is that? Polished walnut. And this is worn walnut. There we go. So I've got a collection of wooden boxes here, right? And that's all it takes to, you know, put it for simple things. For simple things. Glass is cool. Burnished steel is pretty neat because it's reflective. Look at that. Look at that. Reflections. You don't have to code any of that stuff. Do you know how amazing it is? You don't have to code any of that stuff. It's really amazing because you don't have to code any of that stuff. Like in our day, if you wanted reflections coming off a metal surface, you had to do that your own damn self, right? And you had to figure it out, and that's eating up your programmer time that would otherwise be spent actually making your game. You know, so the real strong benefit of using Unreal Engine or other game engines is the fact that you can just focus on making your game, and they will focus on making the engine. And because they have so many millions of hours invested in making the engine good, it's probably going to be better than if you made your own game engine anyway. And if you do need to edit it, well, all the source code's on GitHub, so download it and, you know, have at it, you know, if you really want to. And we're spending insane amounts of time on source engine asset porting. Yeah, so importing things can be a little annoying. Unity and Unreal Engine use slightly different texture coordinates and things like that are kind of annoying, to deal with. So sometimes, yeah, you'll run into issues importing things. One problem that I always ran into was I would import something, and the scale would be set to like millimeters, and my engine is set to meters, right? So I would be like, here's this 747, boom, and I put it in the world and nothing appears. And you're just like, where is it? You know? Sometimes, or it's set to kilometers, and you put it in the world and nothing appears because you're inside of it. You're inside of this giant world-sized airplane, and you can't even see it. It's so far away. And so there are issues like that can make you know, these things kind of annoying. And so you have to sit there and look at the size. Like if you look over here on the right side, when you have a box selected, it shows you the location, the rotation, the scale of things. It'll estimate how much it weighs in kilograms for physics, in case you have physics turned on. And so these kinds of things can help you, you know, with those sorts of issues. But yeah, look at that. Like you got reflections, and oh, look at that. You see how the reflection vanished?
What?
Watch. See that?
It's a ghost.
It's not a ghost. It's because the thing is doing what's called screen space reflections. So it only reflects objects that are on the screen. So if you're on the screen and there's a reflective material behind it, then it will draw the object a second time. But this guy is off the screen. The guy on the right-hand side there is off the screen. It's been excluded from all those calculations, and so you get this ugly popping effect when you move over and look at it. The new Crysis game, they re-released Crysis. It still has screen space reflections instead of doing ray tracing, which they probably should have, I think. And you can see that on that box there on the left. You see how it vanishes. So it's something called screen space reflection. They can be okay, I guess, but they're kind of they lend to these sorts of bugs that, you know, can be problematic. If you have a box made of wood and an object made of metal, would they take bullets differently? They would. You could have them have different amounts of mass. So, for example, if we play the game, oh hey, what did I just do there? I'm now playing the video game. You can have these boxes react to the bullets differently by having different amounts of mass, right? So if I click on this guy has an estimated mass of 442 kilometers. If I make him steel, you see how his mass doesn't change. I could change that though. and I can give him a massive 4.4 kilo, what was it, megagrams, right? And so now, if I try shooting, you see how that metal ball, it's not, that the metal box is just not having any of it, right? Because it's so heavy. I can tip it over. There we go. Thing ain't moving, right? That's moving. No. You understand? So you just have to override that. Okay. You could give the bullets more power, but I mean, why? You know, the whole point of that exercise was to make the box feel heavier, right? You know, you want heavy things to feel heavy in games. You want light things to feel light. Like if you have paper in a game and there's an explosion, you want that paper flying everywhere. It's a concept called juicy gameplay. Juicy gameplay. You want these little flourishes to really, you know, make the world come alive. Like in Mario Brothers, when Mario stops and turns, there's a little puff of dust. I don't know if you guys have seen that from the original Mario Brothers, like on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Like when Mario stops, there's a little puff of dirt and things like that that just make the world feel a little bit more alive. And so if you have a big, bulky, you know, boss, you don't want it just you hit it once and it goes flying off and it feels super lightweight and stuff like that. Default is to translate. Switch is scaling. Rotating is W, E, and R, or you can just click on the buttons here. You know, there's a lot of shortcuts in Unreal Engine, and I forget them all the time. So a lot of times I just click on the buttons. If you want to add something to the world, like let's drag, let's put a sphere in the world. So on the left-hand side here, you see where it says place actors. And if you want to save your project, by the way, save all is something you should get in the habit of doing. So all you have to do is drag and drop. So basic, sphere, drag it out, and press end, and it'll drop to the ground. You always want it, like, if you could put it in the world like that, and then I'm going to turn physics on right here. Turn physics on, and then when I play the game, you'll see it drop to the ground, and that looks really strange. Like I'm playing a game right now that monsters, every time you enter a level, the monsters kind of, their corpses start in the air and then they fall to the ground every time you come in. Because I think the game developers didn't want the corpses falling out of the world. But the effect of it just looks really bad. Because the monsters, every time you enter a zone, the monsters' corpses are in the air and then they flop to the ground. It's not a good look. And so, again, if you want to snap something to the ground, end, E and D, snaps it to the ground, and then when you play it, when you hit play, it looks a lot better, right? So the ball doesn't immediately drop to the ground. All right, so if you want to play the game, by the way, hit play. Alt-P is the shortcut. Hit play, and then you can play your game. This is what people would see when they run your game. Click the mouse button, shoot the ball, and if you want physics turned on things, all you have to do is select the object and click turn physics on. Some of these things, like these big walls here, the big walls do not have physics on, so they don't move. The floor, if I turn physics on the floor, watch what happens. Whee! So the floor, you do not want physics on the floor, because it's like gravity.
Gravity.
Watch here. I'll turn it on again, girl. So I'm going to turn gravity on the floor, and so when you play the game, the floor just falls. So, yeah. So don't have physics on the floor or on the walls or things like that. Big objects like that typically have physics disabled as well. But if you really wanted to, you could turn physics on them. Nah, it's too big. Okay, and so hit play, and then you can play your game. If I want to texturize that ball and make it a gold ball, I can just drag gold onto it. And then there it goes. Play soccer. Okay, sorry about that backwater. Yeah, the gun is loud in this game. What else needs to be said? I think we're about done for today. Learned how to play the game. You learned how to place objects. So to place an object, again, you can just drag something out like that. Just drag it out, and you know, put it wherever you want. And you can just build a little level. So your homework is going to be making a snowman. Ada, what song am I about to sing?
You want to build a snowman?
You want to build a snowman? Come on, it's time to play. I never see you anymore. Come out the door. It's like you've run away. Okay, right here. Here's Pellerino. Here's simulate physics. Right there. If you don't check it, the thing will not move. It will be static. But if you turn physics on, then it can participate in the physics engine. So, you guys will need to build a snowman and take a screenshot of it and send it on Canvas. And I want you guys to do that before next class. If you don't have Unreal Engine yet, I don't know, just message me. I'll let you do it late. But basically, you know, just, you know, snowman, right? You guys all know snowman. Okay. Let's build a snowman. You understand? Are you guys with me? Gone away, sorry. Yeah. Fake fan for sure. Okay. A little scoop of ice cream. Forbidden food. It's the glass, metal, and gold ice cream cone. There you go. It's like you've gone away. There you go. We used to be best buddies. Now we're not. Okay. You guys with me? So make a snowman. Put some eyes on it. Yeah.
Why do you want to build a snowman?
Why do you want to build a... It's winter, girl. You got to build a snowman in the wintertime. No floating in space between... Yeah. Like, don't have a... Yeah, don't do it like that, right? Let's make a snowman. Little nose, couple eyes, you know. And then screenshot it. Do you guys know how to screenshot things? You guys know how to screenshot things? You can download tools to do screenshotting. In Windows, if you've updated your Windows, it's Windows key Shift S. Windows key Shift S, and then you can just drag that. And then you can just you know, send it to me on Discord if you want. It's the easiest way. How do you attach the objects? I just move them over each other. So you can just move them over each other. There you go. If you hit escape, by the way, it unselects everything. So there you go. That's a... I don't know what that is. It's a thing. Right. So objects can penetrate each other. They don't... There's no collision detection necessarily unless you want them to be. Do I port SC and use MS Paint? You do print screen and use MS Paint to save it? Yeah, you can do that too.
How do you get the angular key again?
Print screen pulls up the same thing as Windows key Shift S. And then you can choose full screen, but I just drag and drop and or drag and then paste. Yeah, we're done. Just making sure they know what to do. Snip and sketch. Yeah. The old tool was called Snipping Tool. So I think Snipping Tool is still installed on Windows machine. So if you just run Snipping Tool,
was that stairs?
then you can go new and then drag it like that. There you go. Just send it to me. Send me a little picture of your snowman.
Can I put eyes on it?
Can you put eyes on it?
Can you put eyes on it?
I'll draw an eye on it. There you go.
That's horrible.
There. It's a snowman.
Wait, can you undo that? Undo.
Nope. Sorry. No undo.
Here.
No, bro. Okay. So you wanna put an eye on it? Okay. Drag out a sphere. See, if my 8-year-old can do it, you guys have no excuse. Okay. Drag out a sphere. Now, is that sphere too big? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's scale it down. So click on the scaling tool right there. No, the one to the left of that. No, the one to the right of that. That one. Then click and drag on the white box in the middle. Nope. The one in the middle. The one in the middle. The box in the middle. Click and drag, and see how it gets smaller? So it needs to get smaller. It's eyeballs, girl. Too small. Okay, that's good. Now click on that tool there. That tool? That one. Yeah, And then click and drag on the arrow to move it. So click on and drag on the green arrow. Click and drag on the green arrow.
There's just floating head.
Floating eyeball. Okay, click it. Click on the eyeball. Click on the eyeball. Okay, then click and drag on the arrows, and you can move it around. Okay, moving it up a little bit. Okay. And then hold down right mouse click, and then you can use WASD to move. As long as you're holding down right mouse click, you can use WASD to fly around. Uh-oh, free moving now.
How come it's only going from the behind?
You have to click on the arrow. That's the direction you want to pull it in. So the blue arrow is up and down.
There.
You want the eyeball up there? You have to pull it towards the screen. So drag on the... Put it over the top sphere. We're still recording right now, girl. This is for posterity. Now the green sphere is left and right. The red sphere is forward towards us. So pull it towards us. Now that you just moved it out through behind the wall. Drag it the other way. There you go. Then drag it down. Blue arrow. You're free moving it again. Don't use free move. Drag on the arrows. Okay, you're moving it backwards. You're moving it away from us. So blue arrow, drag it down. Yeah, there you go. You see where the shadow is? See where the shadow is? Blue arrow, drag it down. Blue arrow. Drag it down. Yeah. Now here, let's flip the camera in front of the snowman. Like this. Okay. Green arrow to slide it to the left. Blue arrow to slide it down. Red arrow to slide it into space. Blue arrow up. What color should its eyes be?
Black?
Black. I like the way you think. Alright.
Maybe some ears? A snow mouse.
And then if you alt drag, do you guys see that? Alt drag, it'll duplicate it. So there.
What if he has giant eyes?
Yeah, there you go. His eyes are made of water, as they should be. I mean, it is frosty. What do you think?
Here.
Wooden eyes? Okay. Shouldn't they be made of coal? Right? Use a cone for the carrot nose, right?
Turtles.
Yeah, so you see where the cone is? Drag that out. Drag out the cone, rotate it, shrink it, put it in the nose spot. There you go. That works. You got white. Snow eyes.
What's that? What color did you use for this?
Huh?
Which one did you use for this?
That's concrete. So at the very bottom.
This one?
No. So at the very bottom. Okay, maybe not at the very bottom. Scroll up a little bit. Scroll up. Scroll up. Scroll up. Mouse scroll up. Mouse scroll up.
That one?
No.
That one?
Scroll up. There it is. Concrete poured.
That one?
This one right here.
That one.
Yeah. Make the eyes the same as the. Okay,
It's
that works.
going to
There we go.
look blend.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so that's it for class, guys. Are you holding Alt while the object is selected? Yes. So if you want to duplicate, here, let me show them for a second. So if you want to duplicate an object, you click on the object. It's like if you want to move the object and you hold down Alt, you see how it makes a copy, and it moves in the direction at the same time. So that's very useful if you're ever like, let's say you want to put like 10 bottles of beer in a row. Then what you can do is just alt drag the bottle of beer, and then alt drag the bottle of beer, then alt drag the bottle of beer. They'll all be lined up on the shelf neatly. It's a very nice shortcut. How many eyes should Frosty have?
5?
5? Okay. This is going in a different direction than I thought it would when you have an 8-year-old. Do game design, but okay, sure. We'll make our Eldritch Horror. Why not? There we go. There we go. There's Frosty.
He looks like a spider.
Yeah. Yeah. Alright. I'm just gonna make it normal looking again. Okay. Okay, so save it, save your stuff, save all, and like I said, screenshot it, send it to me. Make sure it's got a nose and some eyes and a mouth and a hat, I don't know, something.
Wait. The reflection is showing the front instead of the back.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. That's funny. Yeah, they're not good reflections. Okay. And when you're done, just close out, and you're good to go. So, do you send it to the group class chat? Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, that'd be fun. Just post it on Discord on the Help Center.
Maybe have more than 3 eyes.
And, yeah, just screenshot it, put it on there. Some easy points. So.
Okay. 8 eyes, 7 noses, and 50 mouths.
Been reading way too much Call of Cthulhu, girl. Way too much Call of Cthulhu. All right.
It's a short book.
All right. So Span is streaming right now. Oh. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much, and I will see you guys on Thursday.